Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I thought I'd finish off this little Budapest series with a guide for everything we think is worth eating, drinking, seeing and doing whilst you're in Budapest. Anywhere we go to, we research a lot before we go, so we like to watch a lot of YouTube videos, look on Pinterest, Instagram, things like that. So I thought this might be helpful if you're planning a trip to Budapest or if you're already going and you're just looking for things to do, so I hope it is useful. We visited Budapest in mid-October, which seemed like the perfect time for us to go. I'm not sure if we were just really lucky with the weather, but it was in the mid-20s, it was nice and warm, it wasn't too hot, and autumn is my favourite season, so I loved it because all the leaves on the trees were changing. A lot of the little shops and cafes were also decorated outside, so they had little pumpkins, little autumn decorations. It was just a really nice time to go. If you didn't know, Budapest is actually split between Buda and Pest. So the Buda side has the castle district and the fisherman's bastion and all things like that, whereas the Pest side has the old Jewish quarter, a lot of the nightlife and the Hungarian Parliament building. We stayed on the Pest side at the Iberostar Grand Budapest Hotel, which was amazing. I would 100% recommend it. So if you're looking for a hotel recommendation, definitely check that one out. The Széchenyi thermal baths are located on the Pest side of Budapest and have one of the biggest natural hot spring spa baths in Europe. It's over 100 years old and it's estimated over 100 million people have been to visit, which might make it seem kind of gross, but it's actually really nice and clean when you get there. We booked a cabin to get changed into instead of the communal changing rooms with lockers, and we also had a massage at the spa. Paper underwear. We did have to walk through an indoor pool to get to the spa, which smelled a bit weird and it was full of old men. So I don't know if you might be comfortable with that, but I personally didn't feel too comfortable staying in there, so I would stick to the outdoor pools. There's also a whirlpool outside, which is really fun. And I would recommend getting there quite early. We got there at 8:30 AM and it was already starting to get busy, but I know you can go from 6 AM, so if you're wanting it to be quiet and kind of have it to yourselves, I would go as soon as it opens. There's also some steps inside which will take you up to the terrace steps, and you get amazing views over all the outdoor pools there, and it is the best spot for an Instagram picture. When we were having a look for places to eat for breakfast, there was two main places that kept coming up again and again, which was Vintage Garden and the New York Cafe. Vintage Garden is probably the most Instagrammable place in the whole of Budapest. It has neon signs, flower walls, and its decor changes seasonally. So whilst we were there, the fireplace was decorated with little pumpkins and champagne and flowers, and I've seen photos of it in the springtime where the restaurant's covered in cherry blossom trees, which also looks amazing. So I've got the American pancakes with fruit. What did you get? Bacon, sausage and onions. You can't make reservations here, so we got there, it was a Monday 9 AM, which I think is the time it opens, and we could choose where we wanted to sit. But I would recommend getting there early on weekends because I can imagine it does get a lot busier. Another popular place for brunch is the New York Cafe, which is located at the New York Palace Hotel. I would recommend making a reservation here, just as we got there 11 AM on a Monday and people were literally queuing out of the door. The cafe opened in 1894 and it's definitely worth a look in even if you don't stop for any food. Sticking with the theme of eating, there are so many Hungarian foods you need to try whilst you're in Budapest. We noticed a lot of the traditional Hungarian restaurants were advertising on the blackboards outside for goulash. Goulash is a kind of soup slash stew of meat and vegetables seasoned with paprika. It doesn't sound much, but oh my god, it was delicious. Other traditional foods include langos, which is basically fried bread with sour cream and grated cheese on top, and chimney cakes. A chimney cake is made of a sweet dough that's wrapped around a cone-shaped spit and roasted over charcoal. They're usually covered in sugar and cinnamon, but we wanted to go to a place called Street Cakes, which fills them with things like Nutella, ice cream, and has all these crazy toppings. We didn't get a chance to go, but I would definitely look at that if you wanted to try one whilst you're there. Our favourite place to eat in the whole of Budapest was Caravan Street Food. It's basically a lot filled with street food vans selling all kinds of foods like goulash, langos, burgers, pizza, pasta, fried chicken, Mexican food, noodles. They also have a vegan van and a bar. We first tried burgers from Zing Burger. I got the smoky barbecue and Ellis got the Guitar Hero. If you go to Caravan, you have to try a burger from Zing Burger. Oh wow. Good. Really good. They were so good. Ellis got another one when we went back a second time. I got something from the Mexican van and I so wish I'd have gotten a burger instead. Caravan is right next to one of the most popular ruin bars, so I would recommend going through the day, just as we went back again at a night time and people were literally queuing down the street and around the corner just to get some food, so it does get very busy on a night. Another place I have to mention is Istanbul Kebabs. When you're walking through Budapest, you can't go on a single street without seeing a kebab shop or a takeaway like that sells kebabs and gyros. So on the first night we got there, we were just looking for some quick food and we went to a different kebab place, which wasn't amazing. I didn't really like it. Ellis liked it, but I didn't really like it. So then after we'd been to the rooftop bar, which I will mention later on, I got a chicken gyro and it was honestly the best thing I've ever tasted in my life. I didn't know if it was just amazing because I was so drunk, so I couldn't really trust my judgment on it. So we went back again another night and both had them and Ellis agreed it was amazing. They were so good. If you have a sweet tooth, there's also a place called Gelato Rosa, which basically makes you an ice cream that looks like a rose. The Széchenyi Chain Bridge goes across the Danube River and was the first permanent bridge between Buda and Pest. It opened in 1849 and we walked from the Pest side to Buda to go do some sightseeing. It took about 10 minutes to walk across, but it was amazing. You get really nice views and I would definitely walk it, don't get a taxi. After walking the chain bridge, you'll be in Buda, which homes the Castle District and the Fisherman's Bastion. Buda Castle sits on top of Castle Hill. And you get amazing views from the top and whilst walking back down the hill. There's also a little terrace cafe if you want to stop off for any food or drinks whilst you're there. From Budapest you can take about a 10-minute walk to Fisherman's Bastion. It kind of reminded us of Hogwarts when we got there, but you get incredible views through the lookout terraces, which brings me on to my next point. So the views from Fisherman's Bastion through the day are amazing, but they're even better at night. I feel like you can't go to Budapest without seeing the Hungarian Parliament building lit up at night time, and what better way to see it. So back over in Pest, on your way to the Hungarian Parliament building, you'll come across the Shoes on the Danube. The Shoes on the Danube is a memorial to the Budapest Jews that was shot between 1944 and 1945. The victims were lined up on the riverbank and shot into the river. They were made to take the shoes off, which was seen as valuable at the time, hence the 60 pairs of iron shoes that line the riverbank. Further along is the Hungarian Parliament building. It's incredible to look at from the outside, but they also have these free little museums that you can go, they're kind of underground, and they teach you a lot about what happened there in the square, and it just has so much history behind it. If you want in a different viewpoint of the city, the Budapest Eye is perfect. It's also located at Elizabeth Square, which is a really nice park to walk through too. If Ferris wheels aren't your thing, there's a few other ways to get panoramic views across the city. One of those is to go to the lookout at St Stephen's Basilica. The Basilica is a Roman Catholic one and you can pay a small entrance fee to go up a long spiral staircase to the lookout. When I say long, I mean long. There's so many steps to get up. We did stop halfway through and got the lift up, which I'm not proud of, but it saved our legs. Budapest is quite a flat city without any huge skyscrapers, so you do get to see really far across. Another way which can be slightly more fun is to go to a rooftop bar. There's quite a few through the city, but a lot of them require reservations, which also require a minimum spend fee per booking. We didn't make any reservations because we were really last minute, but we found 360 bar and I'm so glad we did. You don't need a reservation here, there isn't any minimum spend, but the staff were amazing. Our bartender was really helpful, he was constantly bringing us drinks, and we even got some free shots, which is always a bonus. We arrived at 2 PM and stayed until the sunset, which was amazing to watch, and they had a DJ on as well, which gave it a really nice vibe, and it ended up being one of my highlights of the whole trip. Some steak fries, you want to try one? Good. 5 in. The drinks were really reasonably priced, but I would just bear in mind that their spirit measurement is the same as a double measurement in the UK, which we didn't realise until we were halfway through, so we've been buying doubles by accident, and it did get us a lot drunker than we intended to, which isn't always a bad thing, but I would just bear that in mind. Last but not least, whilst on the theme of bars, is drinking in Budapest. From visiting the ruined bars to trying traditional Hungarian drinks, there is so much nightlife in Budapest. Starting with the traditional drinks, there were two that we saw advertised quite a lot through Budapest, which were Palinka and Unicum. Palinka is a traditional fruit brandy invented in the Middle Ages, which can have an alcohol percentage of anywhere between 40% to 70%. So Ellis has got red berries, and I was going to order apricot, which the bartender recommended, but they've run out, so we've got grape instead. Oh.
I've done I just want the chicken, sorry.
Oh, sure. You do the rest. Would not recommend. We'd also seen Unicum advertised quite a lot everywhere, and we weren't sure what it was, so we asked the bartender, and he described it as the worst thing you will ever drink in your life. He brought us some over on the house to try, but I think it was more just a way for him to get a bit of a laugh, because we were nearly sick in the corner. It was absolutely disgusting. Cheers.
Come on. It smells like swimming baths.
That is awful. Go on. Yeah, I can't say I'm a fan. How do you know what bleach tastes like?
It tastes like how bleach smells.
Ruin bars are another huge part of Budapest culture. There are a bunch of bars located in the old Jewish quarter, which is basically, they've been built into old abandoned buildings. The most popular one is Simple Kurt, which opened in 2002 and is decorated with the most random, weird and wonderful things you could ever imagine. Another ruin bar to note is El Kurt, a Mexican themed ruin bar. At the back of the bar there's a little kitchen where you can get tacos, which is the perfect snack for when you're drunk, you're hungry but you don't want to go home yet. Last but not least is one of my favourite bars I've ever been to in my life, which is Boutique Bar. The cocktails are absolutely incredible. I ordered the Budapest barbecue, which came with its own little flame and marshmallow to roast. And I also got the Second Chance Pina Colada, which I thought was, I didn't really understand the name, but as the bartender was making it, he was explaining that it's basically a second chance for any of the wine glasses that get broken, because they've made these little stands for them to sit in and they get reused. You can make reservations here, but we didn't, and it works on a first come first served basis. So when we first got there, the host, doorman kind of guy, asked us if we'd mind just waiting outside for 5 minutes, which was fine because we didn't mind. And as we came back into the bar, he then made sure we were the first people to get sat at the bar as soon as a seat became available. They only let a certain amount of people in because it is quite small, but we preferred this because it didn't get too overcrowded and you didn't have to wait a long time for a drink. Boutique Bar was ranked among the top 50 bars in the whole world, and I can fully understand why. So that was my rundown of my favourite things to do in Budapest. I know there'll be so many that we missed because we just didn't have enough time whilst we were there. So if you've been and there was anything you think is worth noting, please leave it in a comment below because I know we will visit at some point in the future. If you did like this video, please subscribe to see any of our future travels. I will link all of the Budapest vlogs down below, and we're also going to Bruges at Christmas time, so that'll be the next one if you want to keep an eye out for that one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.